Yo, what up, though? The Minnesota Vikings is going to the 12th man this upcoming game week, man, to face the Seattle Seahawks. And this right here is an important game for the Minnesota Vikings, man. The Minnesota Vikings are 12 and 2. The Detroit Lions are 12 and 2. The Eagles are 12 and 2. And we are trying to win that number one seed in the NFC. So the Minnesota Vikings have to take care of business against Seattle, man. And I think and I'm pretty sure Geno Smith is going to play this weekend against the Minnesota Vikings. How healthy Geno Smith going to be against the Minnesota Vikings with that knee or ankle injury? That's another story, man. The Minnesota Vikings is going to pressure Geno Smith a lot to see how healthy he is, man. But the Seattle Seahawks, they got a lot of weapons, man. I'm not sure if Kenneth Walker played this weekend. They running back, but they had other plenty running backs in that backfield. DK, and they got Smith, Jigba Smith. He a nice wide receiver. They have a nice wide receiver core and a nice running back room, man. But Geno Smith is known to throw interceptions, man. Geno Smith is not a good quarterback, man. And I think the Minnesota Vikings defense is going to give Geno Smith problems. I don't care if he's healthy or not. The Minnesota Vikings need to go in Seattle and take care of business. I'm pretty sure Stephon Gilmore will not play this weekend. And Ivan Pace Jr. is on pace to return, I think, against the Green Bay Packers, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good sign. But the Minnesota Vikings, plain and simple, man, they got to beat Seattle to keep pace and keep track of Detroit and Philly for that number one seed, man. Philly is right there for that number one seed also, man. So we cannot forget and overlook Seattle, the Eagles, man, for that number one seed. The Minnesota Vikings cannot drop no games in the regular season. And this week, Geno Smith is up next, man. The Eagles got a nice defense, though. But their defense don't scare me, especially with the weapons we had and the way Sam Darnold in a run game and the way the offensive line is playing. And Brian O'Neill left the Chicago Bears game last week, and they say Brian O'Neill is playing this week against Seattle Seahawks. So that's a good sign for our offensive line. But I think Sam Darnold, he might struggle a little bit against Seattle just because how physical their defense is. But Sam Darnold lately to me seemed like a second half quarterback, man. I think in the second half, Sam Darnold will figure that defense out and he will make plays and he will score more touchdowns in the second half than he do in the first half, and the game gonna get away from the Seattle Seahawks. I had the Minnesota Vikings winning this game just because Geno Smith not healthy. The Minnesota Vikings are fighting for the number one seed, and our offense is way better than theirs, and our defense is better than Seattle Seahawks, man. I like our offense versus their defense, and I for sure like our defense versus the Seattle Seahawks offense, man. The Minnesota Vikings defense should get a lot of pressure on Geno Smith. They should get some turnovers on Geno Smith, and they should get a couple of sacks. Geno Smith will roll out the pocket and roll into a sack, or try to throw the ball out of a sack, and that's an interception, man. But it's gonna be loud in Seattle. Don't get me wrong. The Seattle Seahawks is not no damn pancakes or no pushover or no team to be looking over just because we play the Green Bay Packers next week. No, this ain't that. Because the Seattle Seahawks, if I'm not mistaken, they right there too to win the NFC West. Because everybody in the West been losing. So if Seattle win, they getting closer to winning the NFC West. But right now, I think if the round went out, they win the NFC West. But Seattle want to win because you never know what can happen in the NFL. And the Minnesota Vikings have to take care of business against Seattle Seahawks, man. I want to see Dallas Turner turn up on Geno Smith, man. Dallas Turner been having some good couple of games lately, man. And it seemed like he had getting into his zone on that defense side of the ball, man. Griffin is going to start for the Minnesota Vikings, man. He will probably be on DK. So that's a matchup we want to look at. Because DK Metcalf is a nice receiver too, though. But I just don't trust Geno Smith versus his defense, man. The Minnesota Vikings defense give quarterbacks a lot of different looks, and they pressure quarterback from all different angles. And I don't think Geno Smith is a quarterback that can beat the Minnesota Vikings defense, man. So the Minnesota Vikings basically got to come out and play Vikings football, man. We got to turn down on them false start illegal formation. We can't keep on being behind the eight ball on 1st and 20, 1st and 15. I don't like that with the Minnesota Vikings, man. Let cut them damn penalties down against the Seattle Seahawks. It's gonna be loud in 12th man. That's why they got that damn name, the 12th man. This is not no cakewalk for the Minnesota Vikings, man. I know we seen what happened last week when they played the Packers, and I'm thinking Geno Smith probably will not finish this game, man, because I don't think he's healthy, man. And Sam Howell is hot garbage, man. So that's another reason why I think the Minnesota Vikings is going to beat the Seattle Seahawks. Like, I'm not overlooking Seattle, but I don't think Seattle is a threat to beat the Minnesota Vikings, man. We need Sam Darnold to keep on playing his football, man. No turnover. Throw the football out to the wide receivers who is open, man. Don't feed the ball out to JJ. Even though JJ going to get his, and we need Sam to keep on making moves outside of the pocket and running with the football when it presents itself, man. But overall, though, I like the Minnesota Vikings this week against Seattle Seahawks, man. I don't feel like Seattle can beat the Minnesota Vikings for real, and the Vikings should win this game. It might be a close game, but the Vikings in the second half been going off lately, though. So I got the Minnesota Vikings winning, man. I can't tell you a score, but they should win by at least 14 to 17 points or more. Y'all let me know in the comment section below, man. How do y'all feel about the Minnesota Vikings going against the Seattle Seahawks with a wound and Geno Smith? I like our chances.